Hello all, good morning and good afternoon, depends on where you are joining from. Thanks for joining in early. We still got another minute or two, so let's give some time for the remaining because I still see people are joining. Please stay tuned. Thank you again. Okay, I think we are on time now. Good morning and good afternoon again for everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. Depends on where you are joining from. My name is Chikin Lo. You can address me as CK. I'm the system engineer from RIM. Thanks for joining in today for the number one Microsoft 365 backup by RIM. The topic for today is Tech Deep Dive from Microsoft 365. Okay, some housekeeping rule before I begin with my presentations. All of you will be automated muted upon entry into this webinar. But not to worry about that. If you have any question, please use the Q&A windows and I will address it at the end of the webinar. This webinar is being recorded as you will seen on the screen. So you will get the recording together with the slide at the end of the presentation once it can take couples of days before you get receive an email with the recording and the presentation slide as well. Okay, so let's begin. But before I go into more details about this product, let's just review why do we need backup for Microsoft 365. So there are seven main reasons. The first that you can see is accidental deletion. Deletion. This is, I think, all of us are aware that humans prone to errors. So most of the time that you, not even you're aware that you have deleted something on your email or even on your SharePoint or on your OneDrive. So we want to prevent this from happening. That's why we need to have a backup for it in order for us to recover it. The second is the retention policy gaps. Retention policy not only to serve the purpose of the backup, but also make sure you have a second copy that you can recover from beyond limited retention policy, which is again you're relate to the legal and compliance of the depends on the organization. The third is the Internal Security Act. As you know, due to the insider action, example, who are ex-employee or consultants who are prone to leaving the organization, so they tend to remove data because they are unhappy with it. So again, this is one of the reasons why we need to protect the data to mitigate this risk. The fourth one, which is the external security threat, I believe we all of us are aware nowadays ransomware attacks is getting more popular, and Microsoft product is one of the top uh, destination where they attack. So we need to protect this data as well. And as mentioned just now, legal and compliance. Some of the organization they will have to meet the legal and perspective, and so that they will need to know how soon or how fast they can recover from certain data loss in order to meet the legals and the compliance. The sixth one is some of the organizations are still moving towards the hybrid environment. So this product might be able to help them to protect the data well when they are doing the migrations as well as the deployment to the online as well. And the final one is the team data structure. I believe most of you are aware that due to the pandemic, a lot of us are already working from home. So Teams is actually a very important communication tool for a lot of the employee within the organizations. And as you know, Teams data are scattered all around the place in Microsoft. So we need to mitigate the risk of the data loss as well. That's why we need to back up it as well. Okay, let's move on to the product Vim Backup for Microsoft 365. This is actually a product to eliminate the risk of losing access on the data, whether it's Exchange Online, SharePoint, OneDrive, or Microsoft Teams. Basically, it's just allow us to have a second copy of the data to the location that you need in order for you to protect your organization data against all the reasons that we have reviewed, mainly the 7 reasons that we have reviewed just now. So it's actually protecting your Microsoft 365 data for your organization. But no backup is perfect without restoration. So with this product, you should be able to restore individual 365 item and files as well. And with this, you're able to help to meet the legal and compliance requirement where with the efficient discovery for recovering the data which is compliant to the legals. Okay, so we're done with all the introduction. Let us move on to the planning for your Microsoft 365 backup. Let's talk about the installation package. As you can see on the screen, there's a video showing Vim backup for Microsoft 365 actually come with 4 MSI file, or you call it a package. The main one, which is the Vim Backup 365.msi, is the main component which you need to install. It is where you to configure all those things, and the remaining 3 are all those Explorer. As you know, Vim Backup for Microsoft 365 cover 4 components: Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive. So basically, those Explorer are all for recovery. You need to use all these Explorer for the recovery of the individual object which is covered. You can see from the screen, it's very simple. Just download and just install it. Just next, by followed by those default. If you do not have any specific config to need to configure, and it will work on that. Next, we move on to the components. So there are 3 major components for this product. The first one, as usual, backup server. It is responsible for those are scheduling the job, notification, tasks, and schedule, and inform you with those notifications if you have configured for it. The second important is the backup proxy. Backup proxy are the one who's doing all those data moving, and each proxy will have to communicate with multiple repository in order to send the data to the repository. And finally, repository is the place where you store those data which you have backup. Just same like if you are familiar with Vim product, same like Vim backup and application, we still have the 3 main components also. The backup server, the proxy, done the task, performing those data moving, reading data from the repository and sending data to repository, as well as the repository, which is actually a storage for it. Okay, after we've seen the components, so there are 2 types of deployment for Vim Backup for Microsoft 365. One which is the simple deployment. What I mean by the simple deployment is that all those components reside inside the same machine. So you have the backup server, you have the proxy, and the repository on the same machine itself. So this is for a simple deployment. If it's for L1 deployment, we have to scale out those components to other machines. For example, backup server is a machine. You will have another machine for proxy. Then you also have another storage just for the repository. That is for the advanced deployment. We rather always got the question, how do we uh, circle out, or how do we differentiate the simple and advanced deployment? Let me move on to the next slide to show you how do we do that. Okay, so this is based on the best practice and recommended configuration of 8 CPU times 32 gig of RAM. So for this scenario or this use case, you can support up to 20K object for this proxy, 32 gig RAM of proxy. You can support up to 20,000 object. What I mean by that is that approximately 5,000 user, you can use it to back up 5,000 user. And you can go up to 50 proxy per backup server. This is all the recommended or best practice which has been done by Vim in the lab. So with the same configuration or setting, you can back up to 1 million instances. What do I mean by the objects? Let me just clarify on this. Okay, as you know, Vim Backup for Microsoft 365, it covers 4 product or you call it 4 components: Microsoft Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. So a mailbox, a personal site, or OneDrive and Teams, each of these count as an object. So with the Vim backup from Microsoft 365, once you purchase this, you are able to cover this or backup these 4 objects and restore data from it as well. But if you have additional share mailbox, for example, or resource mailbox, or you have some other SharePoint site, collaboration sites, or communication sites, those will be add additional object to it as well if you were to back up it as well. That's how we get 5,000 object to that each proxy can support. That's how we do the calculations. So you need to make sure that what are the number of objects that actually you wanted to back up, and based on the resources of the proxy that you have configured, to make sure we have sufficient. And if you have more than 5,000, then you have to allocate another proxy for it. So in order to achieve a better performance. Okay, when we have done with that, we discuss about the deployment. As I mentioned that the backup for Microsoft 365, you can deploy it on-prem yourself with of course, then you have to manage the hardware and repository as you want. But if you do not want that, you want it simple, you can deploy it on the public cloud as well. You can deploy it on the public cloud, for example, AWS, Azure, or Google, or these 3 main public cloud. You can deploy it from the marketplace. If you go to the marketplace, you search for Vim product, you will be able to see Vim backup for Microsoft 365. Just enroll from there. Easily you can deploy from that. Or if you want to deploy 2 other S3 compatibles public cloud, for example, IBM, you can do that as well, but you need to download the file and install it on the public cloud and then configure it yourself. So I think a lot of the organizations starting to do not want all those hassle. So we do have the backup as a service for some of the service provider. You can enroll to the service provider, or if you are a service provider, you can install it and then provide this service to the customer who doesn't want to own any of the on-prem hardware as well. So this can be done as well with the service provider deployment as well. It's the same deployment can be done as well. Okay, when we have the deployment, let's talk about the supported storage. So these are the storage, or we call it the repository, for you to store the data once you have backup. from the Microsoft 365. The first one is the object storage. As you know, object storage is it can be on-prem or it can be on cloud. This is the recommended object repository that by Vim. Why is it? Because of the nature of the object storage. It is flexible, so you do not need to worry about the storage place. You need it, you just enroll and you can use it. And you only pay for those that you use. So you don't need to worry about the limit or the capacity of it, or will my storage be full if I continue to back up a longer retention period. Because if you need it, then you'll be there. The second type is the direct attached storage, where you need a direct connection to the backup server. So this one, the direct attached storage, you need to be a very high input output, so that because of the nature of this product. So USB, this uh, pluggable USB external hard disk is not recommended for this type of storage. Okay, and the third type is the SAN. If your storage I am unable directly connect to the server, so you can connect it to the storage area network as well. But bear in mind to the performance because of the input output process of it. So we recommended it's not too far away in terms of the network. So it's only one hop away from the network, or else it will affect the performance of the backup as well. And the final type is the file share SMB type. We do support this as well, but it's not recommended. We recommended if you want, we want to present this file share using the iSCSI or scan as well, because it will have a better experiment. But if you have no choice, then we do support this type of storage as well. So now we already got the storage, so we need to set the retention policy for it. There are two types of retention policy that covered by this product. The first one is the item level. So pretty simple. Item level are based on the item that we back up. So whether is the backup created date of the item of the file, or the modification of the file. It depends on either one of these dates. For example, if you set the retention period of 1 month, so it's 1 month from the date of the file creation or the modified date, he will still be available. So it's individual item. The second type is the snapshot base. Snapshot base is simple. It's just all the date according to the snap, the time of the backup where it snap. So when you have a file, it snap 1 month ago, and your retention period is 1 month ago. So after 1 month, all those data inside the snap will be deleted one shot. It doesn't matter whether you have modified it a month ago or 2 weeks ago, because it's follow the date of the time is snap. So these are the two type of retention which we cover. And this is the glance of the architecture. How does Vim backup for Microsoft 365? As you can see on the center is the VBO or Vim backup for Microsoft 365 server. So we are able to back up the on-prem, Exchange, SharePoint, or even OneDrive. And if you are enrolling to Microsoft 365 online, we are able to back up as well. And if you got a connection to the network just with the port 443, we are able to update the license and also auto licensing from Vim as well. For some of the small scale organization, if you are still not sure or confident with this product, you can start from a very small scale where you can back up it to your on-prem disk first. So this is a very flexible, and later when you have data, more and more data growing, and you want to expand it to more of the department of your organization, you can move it or the data to the object storage. So in order to have a more disk space as well. And you can see on the bottom down here, those are the platform where you can install your Microsoft 365 server, whether it's on Azure, AWS, or VM, on VMware, on Nutanix, and it basically support on the Windows machine. As mentioned just now, where we support for this backup, we support 4 type of object. So you will have the 4 Explorer being installed together with it, and you can run it from the console as well. And we do support REST API and PowerShell in order for you to manipulate the VBO, or we call it the backup server as well. So this is rather flexible. How do you want to configure it yourself? You want to do it all in one, or you want to split it out as well? No issue with that. Okay, I'm done with all the configuration of the backup server. So now I'm going to show how do we backup and restore the data with this product. Okay, first of all, you need to have the backup first. So it's very simple to create a backup job. Just 6 simple steps. The first one, you need to launch the backup wizard. Then you specify the backup name, any name that you want, and you put in the description that you want. Then you select the object that you want to backup. But if you do not want to select individual object or of it, you want to select the whole organization, you can do so as well. And then you can exclude the object that you do not want to backup. Then you specify the backup proxy and the repository. Where do you want to store the backup data? And the final thing is where you specify the schedule. How do you want the backup to run? You want it to run every 1 hour, or every few hours, or once per day? It's all entirely up to you. Depends on your organization policy to backup. So this is a short video, as you can see on the screen, to show you. It's very simple to play around with all those features, and there's a backup windows. So then I'll go more details on the specify on the backup job. Okay, when it comes to selecting the backup scope, as I mentioned, you can add the entire organization, or you just want to add the teams or the user, or even just team same SharePoint site. It's entirely up to you. It's flexible. How do you want to configure it? You can also dynamically add the Microsoft groups if you want to, and if you have added in the entire organization, as I mentioned, you can exclude the type, the team, or a certain user that you want, or you even exclude. Also, you can dynamically exclude those group from it when you're creating the backup scope. And it comes to the scheduling option. It's pretty simple. I think it's a self-explanation on the UI itself. You can decide when do you want to do it, how frequent you want to do it, periodically, daily, and then you can set the backup windows, which time during which you want the backup to be run, and which time that, for example, normally during business hour, you do not want the backup to run. So you set your backup window to deny any backup to run during this business hour. It can be done as well. It's all entirely up to you. Okay, let's move on to the Vim Explorer. As mentioned just now, will have this backup cover 4 product, or 4 component, or 4 objects: Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and also Teams. So we will have a individual Explorer to tackle or to recover those items from that particular component. This is all custom made entirely for that particular objects only. And in order for restoration, there are 3 use case. The first one is the in place. We call it in place. By default, this restore provide the capability to restore the data to the original location. This is what we call in place. And if it's the out place, as you know, the ability to perform restore to a different location is also supported. That's the out of place restore for all the 4 components as well. And the second one is if you can browse the content. The Vim Explorer component can directly read the entire backup file to present the entire content in a hierarchical format. For each of the object, the built-in browser offers a context-sensitive option to send, restore, or even export the data that you want. So that's for you to browse it. And finally, to search for the content. This will come with the advanced find capability to perform sophisticated e-discovery searches by using different criteria based on the data, uh, data. It can also be searched using the multiple criteria. I think this is again features which is met the help for you to met the legal and the compliant as well. So those are the Flow Explorer, and in for your information, there are total of 45 restore options with this Flow Explorer. I will show more details to you in the later stage of this slide. Okay, so let's move on. How can we explore the Microsoft 365 data? There are 4 ways we can do it. First, you can explore it with the backup job. Of course, you select the backup job, and you can able to see whatever that has been backup. The second one is you explore it using the single organization. You just select the organization, and you see what has been backup on it. And or you can choose to explore all the organization which you have been added in from the job as well. And the final one, which is the exploring point in time. As you can see on the screen capture, you can select what are the point in time or that you have, all the backup version that you have in order to explore what are the data inside it as well. So those are the 4 ways that you can explore Microsoft 365 data once it has been backed by Vim Backup 365. So now move on. How do we restore the data? It's very simple. There are only 3 steps to do it. You launch the restore wizard, select the restore scope that you want, and then you have to authenticate, choose whether you want to use the modern or the basic authentication. But we recommended to use the modern one, and then you authenticate to the Microsoft organization, and you will be able to see the data and restore it. There's a short video in the slide also to showing how the restoring is in progress now with the searches and it's restoring. So it's pretty simple, easy to use. Do not need any technical skill for it to restore it. It's just that if you have the appropriate access to do it, then you can. Okay, let's move on with what are the 3 difference maker if you compare with Microsoft 365 backup with other. The first one is the complex flexibility. As I demo just now, or you can show in the slide, you have the flexibility to choose what do you want to backup, where do you want to backup, how do you want to backup. It's all entire you. We do not have any locking for you. You can choose whatever platform that you want, or where do you want to store it, how long do you want to store it. It's all entire up to yourself or your company policy. The second is the customized backup. As you can see, it's up to you to control what do you want to backup. You want to backup just the user or just the group or just the SharePoint, or what you want to exclude from backup, or a different user or what different data you want to backup. It's entirely up to you. As you go back to the flexibility, you can customize whatever you want. And once you have backup, we have many recovery options with the 4 Explorer for the 4 objects. I'll move on to the next slide. I just mentioned just now, there are total of 45 recovery options for Vim backup for Microsoft 365. Combination of the 4 objects you have on Exchange, you have Teams, you have for OneDrive, and also SharePoint. So those are the recovery options that you can do once your Microsoft data has been backed up using Vim. Okay, I also encourage you, all of you, to, if you got the time, just go to visit the Trust Radios and G2 Cloud for our customer review. Those are the customers who are already using Vim, and they are see what are the review they have provided to us. Don't just trust what is seen by Vim because I'm from Vim. So you can trust our customer because they are the ones who are using it. And if you want to know more, I also encourage you to read some ebook, the conversation Microsoft Team Backup. You will know more about how does the team works and why we need to backup teams and how the teams are scattered around the Microsoft products. Okay, and if you are interested, you can download the trial version for yourself and try it on your own. You do not, it's entirely free for 30 days. But if you are using it for less than 10 users, if we call it a community edition, it's free and with full functionality. You do not need to purchase any license for less than 10 users. Just go to the vim.com, go to product, software as a service, select Microsoft Office 365, and you download and install as per what I have just guided you through at the beginning of the slide, and then you can start using it. Try it for yourself. Okay, if you need to, what you're interested to know more about Vim product, we have a conference. We call it. This is one of the largest event of the year. We have a conference of the year, and this year is will be on May 16 to 19, and is at Las Vegas. And there's some. If you would like to, you can purchase for it, and you can go for it. But if you want to join virtually, it's entirely free. You can just register yourself. So this for your information. Where during the conference, you heard from all those Vim expert about our product and what are the new products that we cover and what are the new features. Okay, I think that's all that I have. Okay, I'll see if there's any questions and I will address it. Okay, I think we do have some question. Give me a moment. Okay, I'm sorry. I think okay, I think there's some connection problem. This time my screen is not showing anything. Apologies for that. I think we will send out the slide to you after this. Apologies for that. Apologies for the issue. I know that some of you uh, did mention that it's not able to see the slide. I really apologize for that. So I think we send out the slide to all of you, and maybe you can just have a look. Okay, I do see there are some questions coming in. Just let me try. Okay, question from Ahmad. Can Vim backup for Microsoft 365 encrypt data store object storage repository? Yes, we are able. There's an option for you to encrypt the data before it being stored. Send it to the object storage for repository as well. But bear in mind that you need to remember the key or for encryption key. One, if you lost it, there's no way we can recover it. Yep, Angelo, thanks for the feedback. We'll send the slide together with the recorded webinar. Mm. Okay, if there's not much questions from the audience, apologies again for the issue that you are facing. Uh, Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you all in the next webinar by Vim. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.